This week in the conversation, I have a wonderful story to share with you. It's the story of an old friend, an impeccable author, Melisa Quigley. She's joining me from just outside Melbourne, Australia, and she's going to be talking about her new uh, poetry slash, I would say, novel. So, titled Bereft, A Story of Love, Loss, and Family. Interesting story. But before we get into Melissa's story, I just want to remind you this time, guys, I have book two, the sequel that everybody has been waiting for. It is available on all the platforms now to pre-order. So you can pre-order it, but the launch is next week, the 28th of July. So please, you can do that. I'm counting on everyone's support. You can get it on Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, Books, all the other places that you know where they sell books. You can find Last Spring Was Bittersweet, which is book two of the first story, which was Bittersweet Memories of Last Spring. So, in other words, if you didn't get book one, I think it's best for you to get two now because, you know, you would be more immersed into the story if you already read book one. Just a thought, you know. But anyway, I'm counting on everyone's support. So without further ado, I just returned to my old friend. I'm returning to my old friend, Melisa Quigley. We're going to be talking about her wonderful story, uh, Bereft, Love, Loss, and the Family. So let's get started. Again, my name is Ardain Isma, and I'm here with an old friend, impeccable author, Melisa Quigley. She's joining me from Australia. Right outside Melbourne, right? Australia.
Yes.
Okay, this is our second conversation, and I'm always delighted every time I know that I'm going to speak with a friend. We're going to be talking about what we love to talk about, which is literature. And
Yeah.
this time, she has something very unique for you guys. You won't believe it. So, Melisa, welcome again into the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, Arjane. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Now, we're going to be talking today about a new book, I would say, slash poetry book.
Yes.
It's written in such a very unique style, which reminds me, by the way, uh, authors like Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who writes, and uh, especially in his book titled "Anthems of the Patriarchs." It's just like a long prose in every chapter, no stop, no paragraph, no nothing. So, you know, it was unique. And I think you're choosing that also because you just want to be unique. Could you please explain that to our audience? Why did you choose this style this time to tell your
Uh,
story?
I wanted to write a story. I didn't have anything for my writing group, so I wrote 110 poems in 2 months, and I
Wow.
looked at Sylvia Plath and Anne Sexton's books, and they had chapter heading. They had chapters. And they had headings for each poem and a table of contents. And I tried that with my writing group, and they said no, it doesn't work. It's all disjointed. So I thought I'll make it into a story without the headings
Mhm.
and no table of contents or anything, and I'll just see if it flows. And they said that it did. So that's why
Okay.
I wrote it.
And since you say you've written about 100 poems in 2 months, so that
Yes.
means you're clearly a seasoned poet. I
No,
mean,
so
only seasoned poet can do that. I mean, in such a very lovely way. By the way, if you do have the a copy of the book with you, would you show it to the audience? There you go. Okay. And they may not be able to see it. It's bereft, a story of love, loss, and family.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a story of a young girl who falls in love with a colored man. I want to ask you this question, Melissa. When you say
Yes.
colored man, because here in the United States, when we speak about that, we mostly refer to someone with African American background. But in
Mm-hmm.
your case, are we talking about Aborigines or just colored person of African background?
Well, it's very interesting that you asked that because I had the word Aboriginal in one of the poems, and my writing group said to me, no, just leave it out and just let people decide who it is. Like it's in your mind when you're reading it, who you think it is.
Mhm.
And also, when I discussed it with the publisher, they said to leave out Aboriginal as well, and they put coloured on the back of it when they did the blurb, and so it was out of my hands with the blurb because I wrote a different blurb and they decided on that, and it's an American publisher as well. So I think it's however the person interprets it. It's meant to be that it could, in my eyes, the way I wrote it, in my view, is that it could be anyone in the whole world. It could be like you and me having a relationship, and it doesn't matter who it is. And how it started was I looked back and I was at a party with, excuse me, at my cousin's 21st, and there was an Aboriginal boy there. And we were walking in home, and my parents, well, my dad and my uncle came and they grabbed me and put me in the car and slapped me for walking home with an Aboriginal boy. And he was
Okay.
beautiful, had black curly hair and beautiful teeth and bright shiny eyes and everything. I just thought he was gorgeous, like an Amazon person. And I was 18 at the time, and that's how it all started. So you can
Ah,
have your own view on what you think. I don't want to offend anyone. The publisher put coloured, and I know that it's offended some people, and I ask for forgiveness because I didn't want to hurt anyone when I wrote it. It's just a story that could easily happen. I was actually very philosophical when I wrote it, that I thought of a modern day Romeo and Juliet. That's
but let
how
me ask
I,
you something here. In Australia, which is a different society, is it
yes.
traditional that you can refer to someone, um, you
Oh
know,
no,
called no? Oh,
no,
okay.
no, you
Okay.
don't. That's why
Okay.
they said just leave it. And I did hint that it was Aboriginal because when I had the book, when I wrote the book, sorry, I did put Dreamtime in it, and Aboriginal people, Indigenous people, they have the Dreamtime. So I hinted that it was Aboriginal in it. If you read through it, you'll see the word Dreamtime because he learnt to paint.
Mhm.
And Indigenous people do beautiful paintings, and they're about the dream time.
Now, since we know that fiction reflects reality, Melissa, now
Yes,
your story falls quite in line with society at large.
yes,
Even you read my one of my novel, you read Bittersweet, you could
yes,
see a reflection of that also, you know.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Haiti and coming to Miami in
Right.
Florida. Oh, you were Vinco in it. I could
Exactly.
see you.
Yeah. And also, I'm sure you're waiting for book two also, right?
Yes,
So yeah, so that means indigenous individuals, they face some sort of more challenges in society in
yes.
Australia.
They do. There's currently a voice referendum that they're trying to decide whether it's going to be pushed through so that Aboriginal people can have more of a voice in society and be recognised in the Constitution.
Mhm.
Yes. Mm.
Okay, wonderful. But anyway, because love transcends race,
It does.
boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
because love is something that is unique.
Yes.
So, which reminds me a wonderful trilogy that I read by a Haitian writer. She passed away some time ago. She's written a wonderful story called Dance on the Volcano.
Mhm.
And then it's a story of during the colonial times, you know. It depicts the relation between colonizers and people who have been conquered, and also the relationships, you know, between white and mixed race individuals and Africans. A wonderful story. And I can see when I see you, but there's one section in here, and if you allow me to, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I just want to read a quick passage.
Good.
Okay. Afterwards, we met at the beach. I told my love what the priest had preached. His eyes narrowed like I was telling lies. He said, church talks of hell where someone walks on hot coals with blistered feet. Not about loving people you meet. You can't go on this way. He left me wounded as a lion torn to shreds in a fight, crimson with its heart ripped out from a predator late at night. I pleaded with him not to leave, but he pushed my hands, muted something under his breath, leaving me weeping, feeling bereft. I wanted the laughing sea to take me away. This is so profound, Melissa.
Thank
I
you.
highlighted. How did you feel when you were when you were writing these lines?
Well, to be honest with you, you know, they say never discuss sex, religion, and other things, but wealth comes into it because my first love was someone that I felt like that. Because I thought I have to get into the character's shoes. How am I going to do this?
Exactly.
And so I thought of my first relationship, and my first relationship, we weren't middle class and we weren't poor, our family, but we weren't wealthy, as in like I was working with someone and he asked me over for dinner with his parents. To cut a long story short,
Right.
I went to an affluent suburb and they had Mercedes Benz way back when, and they had a plane. They took me in their aeroplane. I could fly over Port Phillip Bay in their aeroplane on autopilot. It was just something out of this world, and my parents hated it. And they said I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth and to end it, and I wouldn't. The more they said end it, the more we drew together. And so I was drawing on that experience, you see. So I thought I was just devastated when he said that, like they bought him a sports car and they to try and keep him away from me, but he took me out in his sports car all the time and took me behind me. So when they said they'd cut him off from his inheritance, he stopped going out with me. So, and then I didn't go out with anyone for 4 years and I just wouldn't see anyone or do anything, and I went into a black hole of depression. So I think
right.
I really drew from the character's experience on that. I wasn't pregnant, I didn't have sex with him, but I drew from the experience that I felt in my heart and how my heart felt like it was ripped out and stomped on. And I really got into that, and I hope that that comes through in the book of how I felt when I was.
This is really.
I just wanted to be with him. He was my every breath we take, like the song says, and the first cut is the deepest. All of those songs were so true for me because I'm thinking of songs as well that reflected on Bereft. And so I thought I've got to get into the character's shoes and really feel how she's feeling and how, you know, like you're typecast that if you live on the land, you know, you've got it, like you haven't got a son to take over the farm. So she was working like what a male would do, digging, you know, putting in nails in fence posts and stuff like that. And my mum had an upbringing like that on the country where she was, you know, not working on the land. She was one of 8 children, but it was very harsh sort of way to live. Very poverty stricken. She'd get an orange for Christmas. So I was drawing on those sorts of things too. So did it come through?
Yes. And it comes across, you could see the emotion in my voice when I was reading them.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
And I think that I'm not the only reader,
mm.
who would feel this way.
Yeah,
And I
that's
have to say that, there's no flattery or something, but your writing really it's so deep and so soulful.
thank,
I can read it and read it and read it and read it again.
thank you.
Yeah. So my question is, how do you call the style of writing? Is that freestyle of poetry? Or how?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's freestyle. It's like writing, but it's sort of half rhymes and it like rhyme comes into it occasionally and then it doesn't. Yeah. Mm.
Okay.
I didn't want
Now,
it to happen all the
now,
way.
let me ask you something. In Australia, uh, because I remember I've written two writers from Australia. Uh,
Mm.
one is a gentleman named John. I remember it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And CSMS magazine that was back 7 years ago. He was writing periodically. He would send an article for the magazine, and I could see how he was so profound in his writing.
Yeah.
And now that I've met you, and I can see maybe do you think it's something that's in the vein of Australian writers, to write so soulful,
I don't know.
poetic prose?
I think that it comes from people's background. That's what I honestly believe. Like your
Okay.
background comes through in your stories and it depends on how your journey's been in life and what you've experienced as you go along. Yeah, that's what I believe.
Okay. Now, I know this is not the only project, the only book.
Mm,
I am convinced there are more projects in the world. So
yes.
could you please share that with our readers, Melissa
I
and
have a
viewers
book. I have a book called Ego coming out later on this year,
this year?
and it's a picture book. And it's about trying to teach children that never to give up and if you fall to keep trying. So that's coming out with Pennant Publications in maybe December this year. And yesterday I sent out one about an endangered bird called the chimney swift, which is in America. I sent that out to several publishers as well, and I'm currently writing another novel about family, love and loss. There seem to be stuck on that, but this one's about wealth. So what I touched on before. So yeah, I'm using that as well. So yeah, but I'm 70,000 words in on that at the moment.
Oh, that's
So
when you wade deep into it.
yeah, so I'm editing it at the moment, but I haven't got an ending for it. So it's still perking up there. Yeah. Mm.
Any short story collections?
Oh, I haven't got any short story collections, but I've been published in 30 anthologies, and I just got published in Defiant in March, which is Monash University's literature journal magazine. I had a story called Wool put in that, which was about a cat,
Okay.
and the theme was Defiant.
At the beginning, you mentioned that your writing group or something. Do you belong to a proactive writing group in your area?
Yes, I belong to Caulfield Writers Group, which is fantastic because we read out our writing every fortnight and we go around the table. There's normally 10 of us and we say what we think of the writing, and that's how they told me to take the headings out because it detracted in bereft and to don't have chapters and all that sort of stuff. So, and just let it flow. And I think it's a lot better the way it is, the way it's come out as a result of that. Their knowledge is invaluable.
But let me ask you something. The way you just explained it, it appears that you find that writers who belong to writing groups seem to be more proactive, if I may say, prone to be more successful at doing it?
Oh, I don't know about success so much. Maybe getting traditionally published, that helps a lot because you've got 10 sets of eyes on, or however many are in the group. You've got them looking at your work, every fortnight. So it really makes you try and hone your craft more than if you're just, writing on your own and then sending it off to an editor and then trying to get it published or think I can't wait anymore, I want to just self-publish it. I think, it's better to have those eyes on it because they pick up so many things. Like I could look at 4 pages and read it out several times before I take it there. And then I find that they've picked up several things and I've been looking at it over and over again and reading it out and I haven't even seen it. Do you know what I mean? Like someone views your work differently or they say, no, you can't say that. You need more emotion or oh, I don't believe in that, that's not true or whatever. Even in a short story, when I've entered competitions, they will pull me apart on different things and say, no, or yeah, that's great or whatever. So I find it invaluable myself.
Unfortunately, it's the kind of a grueling thing that publishers, not all of them by the way, but some publishers, to me, enjoy, putting authors, writers through, because I believe that you have to give every submission, fair due process, I would say. But sometimes rejections come without even, seeing the true value of the work.
It's true. You don't even get anything written about your work. It's just, sorry, we're not interested, or, not for us, or whatever, or good luck in the future. And some people don't even respond. Like 2 days ago, I did the chimney swift and I sent it to a place where they look at endangered animal picture books. And I filled out 5 pages of marketing and selling questionnaires that they asked me for. And they'll decide from that whether they want to see the manuscript. They wanted that first. See, everyone has a different take on what they want from the author. It's not easy, like just to write something and then send it in. You've got to know how to market it and how to sell it and why are you doing this? All these different questions. It was quite incredible. I can send it to you if you like, so you can have a look at it. But, by the time you research all those answers,
sure,
you learn though as you go, as in from looking for those answers, you learn more about different things about writing that opened my eyes that I wasn't even aware of before. So it's a catch-22. If you know what I mean. So, yeah.
But they also sometimes they have a compelling case. They say at the end of the day, it's a business. They want to make sure that this is something that is profitable for them before they can take on a project. Well,
Yeah. Yes, that's true. And like there was someone on Instagram, I looked up them and they had just one day open for submissions and they get between 800 picture books to 1,000 picture books in that 1 month. So if it doesn't catch their eye within the first sentence or first couple of pages, it just goes to the side. They don't care and they won't even respond. So it's pretty ruthless. But
okay. So that's interesting. Melisa, I have a question for you. How would you advise somebody, a writer, who would want to put out the story in the style of yours, to tell a story the way you just, the way the way you wrote this Bereft. So how would you advise a writer?
I think you've got to look at your personal life and what's happened in it, and to really be honest with yourself and your emotions and how you really felt. Like, drop down into the scene and really experience it. Like, even when I was at university, they said to even act out a scene. So, you know, like, start with a small little microcosm of your world and build on that. And if you're game enough, just really play it out, act it out, and think, how was that emotion? How did I feel? You know, or how would that person feel in that? If you haven't experienced it, you know, how would you feel in that scenario? And to really let the reader experience it, instead of just writing like the cat sat on the mat. Well, how did the cat feel on the mat? Was the mat prickly? Was it soft? Was it nice and, you know, I don't know, all different textures come into play? Was there a bowl beside the mat that it could have a drink from? You know, look at your surroundings, really delve into everything that's around you and that. So.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Good lesson. Are there any now, do you plan on taking Bereft on the road this summer? No, it's not summer for you. I think it's winter for you now, right?
It's winter.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah. So you can't really take Bereft on the road because it's cold out there, huh?
Yeah, it's cold. What do you mean by take on the road?
I mean, giving lectures or presentations, signing, in your area, or
I've done a book signing already for it, and yeah, but as for taking it on the road, not really. No.
Area. Right.
Yeah.
No book fair in your area?
No, well, the publisher puts it into book clubs and teaching. And when I was on holiday recently, I met a teacher in Sydney, and she was really interested in it and was going to buy a copy because she's a high school teacher, and she said it sounds perfect for her students. So whether she does or not is another thing, but yeah. So, you know, people can say things, but whether they walk their talk or not, you know, it's
Exactly.
thing. So yeah, but no, nothing planned with it. I tried doing a what do you call it, a book blog, or what do they book tour?
Book tour,
But
yeah.
they were done for poetry that I could find over here, and there was one in the UK, but they wanted me to send like 20 copies to them, but I said, by the time I send it to the UK, it cost me a small fortune with the weight and everything, so I decided not to.
And some of the tour also, presentation, might have been sponsored by your publisher too, because it's a it's a co-project, so they have a stake on it too for every book that sells.
Yes.
So
that's true.
and also it says that it's important for every author to give himself or herself a 50 miles radius from where you are in terms of promoting the books. You could use local newspapers, libraries, magazines, and
Yeah, that's true. Well, I've
middle of
promoted
it now, you believe it or not.
I promoted it in Turkey to all the people on the tour and everything, and I promoted the complexities of love over there as well. So they were all very interested. So, but like I said, it's whether they do anything or not. So, yeah.
Okay, so with that, it's been such a pleasure to have once more my old friend Melisa Quigley, impeccable writer,
Thank you.
in the conversation, talking about her unique, beautiful, wonderful new story, Bereft, a story of love, loss, and family.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.